In our last session, the crew, which has been brought together, as I say, by circumstance, was given a mission of sorts. They were brought together basically by a group of people out in front of a tavern that were causing some problems for a couple of dwarves. And this group of people brought together was determined to prevent that from happening. And in particular, Silvo, who began by attempting to defend them, and Brine, who came out with swords at the ready to sort of do this, with Morthwyl sort of throwing rhetorical bombs from the sideline, I would say, and sort of being like, hey, what's it? Managed to ward off these people who had this negative sort of quality to the dwarves, but also were in the process of trying to gather some information about how they'd be able to help the people of this town and what else was happening in this town. And so the party, having done all of that, attracted the notice of a couple of people in question. And specifically, as my notes did not open properly, so bear with me, they gathered the information of two people in particular. Okay, back up to that, and not that, and the other, and this. I don't need that. This information was there before. Say again?
Canis?
No, Canis is the prospector who was drunk. I'm going to deal with him in a minute. Not Canis. It's the guy who originally gave you, who actually gave you this mission, who's the one that I'm trying to find, that he worked for. Let's see.
Scaran Wave Chaser.
Scaran Wave Chaser is the guy. Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I said it 3 times and realized I was on mute.
Yes, attracted. Oh, okay, yeah, I just heard you for the first time. Yes, Scaran Wave Chaser. So Scaran Wave Chaser, who works for essentially the Lord, the main council of the town, approached the party and said that there was information. He was impressed with what he had seen and basically hired them to be able to look into a situation that the town has been dealing with for some period of time. There is a house to the north of the town which is basically considered to be haunted. And the suggestion that Wave Chaser gave them was to go and actually look at find a guy named Canis, who was talking about how he had seen things that were there and how he had gathered all of this, he'd found all this information when he walked in there. Now, the thing about Canis is that he's well known for not only being kind of a drunkard, but also for being someone who tells stories on multiple occasions about things and sort of, makes stuff up in this way. And so he acknowledged after the party found him and basically got him out of this tavern where he was in trouble because he hadn't paid for his drinks and he was trying to bother people. So they managed to get him out of the tavern and discovered that he was indeed this aged poacher who confessed to having wandered in the back door of the house hoping to acquire some food, and that he had gone down the stairs. He had heard these ghastly shrieks and piercing wails, and then he ran frightened out of his wits, and that he is not the only one who believes the house to be haunted, although it is quite possible that largely through Canis's storytelling, usually lubricated by a little bit of ale, that the town has sort of gathered this information and now believes that the house is haunted, whether or not it's true. And so the party has been asked to investigate the house and also to investigate it because there is concern that there may be smuggler activity at the house, that this whole thing about it being haunted is just a cover for what's actually happening there, and that the party needs to be able to find out what the reality of it is so that they can report back to Scaran and hopefully do a service for the town of Saltmarsh. And also, of course, they are being paid for this action, which sounded good to all 4 of the party members, and so they decided to go along with it and agree with it. On their way up to the north, they ended up actually passing by this church, which you can see over. Let me pull this back to the map here for a second, where you can see over here, directly in front of you. And this church was important because it is the place where Canis supposedly had first come after, quote-unquote, escaping this haunted house. This is the Temple of Procan, and it is led by a one-legged former whaler, Welgar Brinehanded. who met with them and explained, yes, he had seen Canis. Yes, Canis is a drunken sot. And yes, maybe it's true that he saw something, or maybe it is the case that he didn't. But either whether he did or didn't, it doesn't matter because, something is going on up at that house. And that, you need to be careful. But yes, there's almost certainly something happening up at the house that they should be willing to check out. And so after gathering this information, the three waves crashing against rocks, Morthwyl and Brine, headed to the north, while Silvo went off in a little bit of a different direction because Silvo had a meeting with the Viper Sisters, this group of, how do I put them? Criminal operators, let's put it that way, for whom Silvo has been working. And he reported to them, basically the Viper sister that he explained things to, helped along by the bodyguard Frug, explained to Silvo that he could go and do this if he wanted, but that he had to bring any treasure back to them, report anything important to them, and that if he ever forgot that he was really working for the Viper sisters and not for this group of three other people that he's randomly fallen in with, that he's going to pay for it. And so with that kind of menace of the Viper sisters in the background, that was the last thing that we saw in our last session. And so as we pick things up now, I want to start with Silvo just to check, because I believe, Silvo, you were then going to be rushing to catch up with, but correct me if I'm wrong, the other three.
I was indeed, yes.
Okay. So then I would say, Silvo, that you probably pick up the trail. It's not too difficult because they told you where they were going. You pick up the trail of the rest of your party as you are heading up to the house. And I think I may have a picture that I put up here, possibly, although maybe not. I had the Sea Princes. No, maybe I didn't have that. Okay. Oh, yeah, I did, because I had the handout. Yes, I did have the handout. I am speaking, of course, about this. Let me get just the picture. That's not the handout. There we go. This is the one that we were looking at, which is this house that you can see. And as you catch up with the party, I would say that the party has just now appeared. You just see the party kind of stopped and looking up at this house, which looms ominously on the edge of a cliff. And it does look as ruined and sort of forbidding and not particularly friendly as advertised. So the three of you, Waves, Morthwyl, and Brine, here, I'm assuming that Silvo is not trying to be particularly stealthy. So you hear Silvo trotting up behind you, and Silvo and the other three, you can now speak to each other as you look upon this house.
So I just kind of straighten my coat, and I seem maybe slightly more serious than I was when we last met. I just go, right, so what did I miss? Did we do anything exciting?
We went to a chapel. I don't think the vampire rats that we were led to believe are possibly real, but
Shocker.
There's definitely something going on in this house that we need to investigate.
Okay.
Can I, from our vantage point, and I understand that we're down the hill and not actually close yet, can I see any movement, any lights, any evidence of something that's living?
Let me have you make a perception check, and while I do that, let me talk a little bit about the nature of this thing. So the road to get here, by the way, wound through rocky coastal terrain, and it is not right next to the town. It's actually a few miles north of it. It was, it's rocky, and so that means that it's not the easiest hike, but it's still manageable, fairly manageable. There was often a view of the sea below as you went. There were low clouds that pressed upon you, occasional patches of sunlight appearing over the water, and as you can hear, this stiff wind kind of blowing in off the waves, that carrying the briny stink of this churning salt water. And when you get to the house and you're looking up at it, what you can see is, let me get rid of this for a second. What you can see is, with that 9. So you don't see anything stirring inside the house, Brine. What you can see is that this house is sitting on what is obviously the highest ground in the area. The road has been gradually kind of tilting up to meet it. And around it, there is a stone wall which has crumbled in many places, exposing the interior grounds. There's an ornate metal gate lying open at the end of the road, which just sways slightly in the wind, kind of as the wind blows it. There is wild flora that you can see growing throughout the yard, the inner yard, but all the years cannot hide the evidence of a well-tended garden that once sat there. You can tell just even from where you're standing that at a certain point it must have been a very impressive, magnificent garden, even very good size, but obviously been many years since that's been the case. And near the house there is the rotted wooden roof of a water well that is rising out of the tall grass. But in terms of the interior of the house and so forth, that you do not, you don't see anything inside the house, no.
Okay. We know from, I'm talking to my like fellow party members. I'm turning to Waves, Morthwyl, and Silvo. You see, I remember the gentleman back in the village saying that this was previously owned by an alchemist, but it was 30 odd years ago. I don't know that this garden would be that overgrown by then. Should we have a quick look round before we ventured too close?
Sounds sensible to me.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good plan. I mean, whether we're going in the front or the back, I suppose it makes sense to have a look around.
I mean, it's an alchemist's garden. I'm half surprised it wasn't all burnt down. Guilt joke.
Okay, in which case I want to, like, very stealthily just have a walk around by this wall, peeking round where the rocks are starting to crumble, before I kind of move over the gap and continue round the wall.
Now, are the three of you watching as Brine does this, or are you going along with Brine? And if so, how many of you are trying to be stealthy about this, and how many?
Morthwyl's just wandered over to have a look at the gate. Professional curiosity.
Waves is a natural follower and follows.
Which one, though? It sounds like you're going to different places.
No, I'll follow Brine because she said we're going to move.
Okay, Silvo, what about you?
Where's the nearest window?
That would be inside the gate and towards the house directly. Okay. So yeah, do you want to go to one of those windows and look in? Is that the idea?
No, I'll go towards the. I'll head towards the gate.
Okay, so let's. Start
I am being stealthy, by the way.
Okay, so let me have all of you make stealth checks then, please. And Brine, I will start with you in terms of that. Gate thing.
16.
Wow. Waves is just like Waves vanishes completely from
Waves.
you. Just
Waves is now
also
known as Seamist.
I don't know why it's saying I'm wearing heavy armor because I'm not.
Oh, okay. So you also okay. So
yeah, I did a double roll.
Both of you just silently vanished. What happened to Morthwyl? And but no. So we'll start with just fixing the overlay. Okay. Let's start with Inanda. So you carefully make your way over, also fairly stealthily, it must be said, make your way over to the wall. You can see that the stone wall at one point was very tall, actually, Brine. It was probably 6 feet tall or so, if you had to guess. But it's now, and it more or less encloses the garden, but it is now partially collapsed in several places. So theoretically, you could even, climb through the breach into the garden if you didn't want to go through the main gate of the house. So that would be that. Inside the garden, inside the wall, just sort of looking through. Thank you for the follow, Linko. Just sort of looking through the breach in the wall, you can see that there are a few you can see what might be like a broken wooden handle of some kind. It might have been off of a shovel or a hoe or something. And you can also see there is near the gate of the wall a single rose bush, which seems to have overgrown the wall and has kind of choked out most of the other plants. It's actually a very good size and is pretty impressive looking, but obviously lots of thorns, not pruned, etc. And so the garden itself looks like at one point it was probably quite magnificent, but of course now is lying fallow and so forth. So that's what you can see through the break in the wall. And you can feel free to do other stuff if you want, but that's what you can see from your position.
the only thing I'm going to do whilst I'm just like observing is turn around to talk to Waves and realize that I can't actually see where she is behind me, and then just continue to carry on looking through the wall.
Okay.
Because she's super stealthy.
I will jump over to the aforementioned super stealthy. So Silvo and Morthwyl and Waves. Let's see. Silvo also did fine, fairly stealthy. You actually, for a moment, just hear the overwhelming sound of the waves, Silvo. So like it's like no one's behind you, and sort of at one point you look behind you nervously, and then you see them stealthily creeping up behind. Very impressive. Like totally.
Damn, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. So you can see that there is this inside the garden. You can as you move up to the gate, you can see that the gate is indeed off of its hinges, and the gate basically leads into the house. So essentially, what you've got is you have a gate which the garden is on one side of it. Basically, I don't have a map of this. I'm sorry, but the garden is on one side of it inside the wall. If you were to go through and figure out a way to kind of poke your way through the rose bush, basically, then you could walk up to the front door of the house through the gate. And the gate itself looks as if it's, very rusted. The swinging back and forth is just as much as it's given room to do, because it's basically twisted and bent. So you don't actually think you could open it much further. I mean, it's open enough you could walk through it, but you couldn't open it much further or close it much further from what you can tell. Morthwyl, the gate might be repairable, but it would take a little work to do because it's definitely, weather beaten and all that kind of thing. And then, of course, there is the well that I mentioned, which is, again, inside the wall, inside the gate, and off to the right side. So left side, you got the rose bush and garden. Right side, you have the well, and then the path leads up to the front door of the house. And so,
Rusting after
Morthwyl,
30
Silvo, and
years.
Waves, yeah.
Rusting away. I must have gone cheap. Shouldn't go cheap in this
guessing-
environment.
So I'm guessing you would have made them rust proof.
Well, nothing lasts forever, but dwarven craftsmanship damn near makes it.
I can't imagine many dwarves helped build this place. I mean, it's hardly lasted the test of time.
Most of them were probably chased out of town anyway.
No, yeah, that is true. So, if we go through the gate, it's probably going to make a bit of noise. And I'm looking down at different parts of the walls. Is there a bit that I can vault over, maybe?
Yeah, there are breaks in the wall. As you look to the left, your vision is obscured by this rather enormous rose bush.
Yeah, I kind of want to avoid that.
Yeah, but you could go, not going inside the gate. You could go outside the wall, and there's a couple of breaches. In fact, you see Brine is looking over one of them right now through one of the breaches into the garden. So there are a couple of places where the wall has collapsed enough for that to happen.
So I'm going to go over to Brine, and I'm going to basically look, well, I'd say over Brine's shoulder, but around Brine's torso, I should say.
Okay.
Because I think I'm a little smaller than Brine is. So, do we just run in, or do we wait? What do we do?
I can't see where Waves is. I'm assuming that Morthwyl's over by the gate, but I think we
Who's
need
Waves?
to. But sorry. I think
That's the Kenku's name?
is somewhere close by. However, I think maybe we just need to carefully hop this wall and just sneak a little bit closer to the house, just in case there is anybody in there.
So you figured out the Kenku's name and no one decided to tell me?
I'm sorry. We were talking when you were in the pub with Morthwyl. We were trying to come up with some kind of communication as to how to interact in a more quick and precise way.
I see. I shall try and remember that. Waves. Got it.
They pop up next to them.
Morthwyl's
my God!
comes.
Where did you come from?
Morthwyl's coming walking
By
over
the
just as that
divine.
happens.
Because waves, looks impatient yet again, points toward the house, and makes the movement like.
Yeah, I'm with Waze on this one. Maybe we should go around the back.
I'm with you.
I was going to say the same thing myself. Yeah,
So-
that old drunk could have gotten in there that easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that if this place were, infested with giant vampire rats, we'd have probably seen one by now. Maybe.
I think
Maybe
that
not?
he did mention a secret tunnel, but
He did. Yeah.
we couldn't unpick his description to find an entrance.
Yeah, he was at that point in his glass, so there was definitely issues sort of picking truth from misremembering.
His name was Canis.
Canis, yeah.
But yeah, let's sneak round the back and make sure that the immediate coast is clear before
Okay.
we try and creep round. Can we, whilst we're sneaking round, can I suggest, like, can I have a look to see if there's any, like, trapdoors or any, like, bits of wood that look like the path has been trodden towards it or anything?
Sure. As you were to go around, you could definitely take a look at the at the edges of these places. Now again, the wall surrounds the entire, house, and is again broken in several places. So, but because it is 6 feet, it means.
So Morthwyl, this whole magic thing that you do, how exactly do you do this?
I can't really share secrets with non-guild members, but the general principle is that the god Bakab has put a spark of magic in all things on this world, and through our techniques, we can tease it out of anything. We can make metal sing, fire dance, we can trap lightning in a jar. Of course, sometimes the lightning bites back, mind.
yeah, I'm sure it does. So did you always have this ability to make metal sing, or did it just kind of come to you one day, or did you have to train for it?
Well, I was apprenticed to the guild when I was 10-year-old. You know how it is. Dwarves have big families. They don't like layabouts. If you're old enough to hold a tool, you're old enough to go to work. Tough love it was.
To be honest, that sounds like most of the families I knew in Seaton. So,
Mind you, I did have a gift for it. They said I was one of the most talented they'd ever seen. I was barely 80, and there was talk that I was going to be the next Grandmaster someday.
nice.
That's were a long time ago now, though. Things didn't quite work out.
Well, some things change for the better, some things change for the worse. But
And some things blew up in the council's face.
Yep,
Yep.
that'd probably do it.
He talked a big game that day, but bit embarrassing. Never really got over it.
Yeah, I can imagine that. So about this magic, and there's just muttering carrying on about magic as we continue down the path.
Yeah, and as you make your way around the wall, now I'm assuming you're making your way around it. I shouldn't assume. Are you making your way around it to the east, to the right as you go up and around, or to the west?
I started walking away from the cliff face, so for me, I'm walking west.
Okay. So, because that's on the garden side, basically, as you go around, which is fine. The wall is around, of course, the garden and the house. So, as you go back to the west and around it, let me see if I can bring us up on another map here.
Yeah,
Let me
just
go to this thing.
really quickly, as we're walking around, are we walking around the outside of the wall?
Yes,
Or
because the
have we
wall
got in?
surrounds the house, although it
How
is crumbled in spots.
Yeah, that's fine. How far away from the house? How far away is it from the wall to the house?
It depends on where. It varies. At times, like around the garden area, for example, it's considerably far, 100 feet, maybe. At other times, it's much closer, maybe within 10 or 15 feet, especially on the eastern side where it's closer to the cliff. So, like the cliff face, you have the wall, and then you have the house not too far inside it.
So theoretically, if there was a spot in the wall where I could hop over the wall and go towards the house and have a quick peek in one of the windows, could I do that?
You absolutely could. And if you're following everybody else and then doing that when the moment presents itself, that's
Yes.
going to be in the garden.
Okay, that's fine. Then yes, as soon as that moment presents itself, I'd like to just have a quick look in the windows. I say the windows, like I check like 2 of them, like the closest one, and then maybe the next one along, and then move back to the group.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, so...
Let me know if I need to be stealthy, because I will be stealthy if I
Well,
need
I mean, yeah, I was just about to ask that. If you are going to be
It's-
stealthy...
as stealthy as I can be, so
Okay.
I will roll a stealth check. That's not a stealth check, that's a sleight of hand check.
So
15,
you
okay.
just suddenly jump over the wall.
I'm
Pretty
assuming,
much, yeah.
right?
So we're all kind of like in tandem, and I will just be like, I'll be back in a minute. And before anyone can like really turn around, I'm over
Silvo.
a low part of the wall, and I'm like scurrying away.
Silvo.
I look back at Waves.
Silvo.
Yes, in a minute.
Silvo.
I'm off.
Silvo.
That was Mike before the throat infection.
Okay, I'm going to bring you all over to what I hope is a map that is properly presented. Cross your fingers. Yes, good. You should see utter blackness. And so that's good.
So that's a good thing, right?
Yes.
Great, I've
If you see
fallen into the void.
Turns out the well was right on the other side of that wall.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no, the well's to the east, actually. So,
What's that, Shku? Silvo's falling down the well.
falling. Okay, here we go. So, let me describe a little bit of what it is that we're looking at here.
I've been falling for 30 minutes.
Waves apparently doesn't like people moving off, so she points after Silvo.
Captain, I wish to report a mutiny.
Right, and so you all, you all see Silvo kind of moving off towards this area. Now, I do want to ask very quickly if anyone's following him, or are you just staying on this side with, because you can do that. You can definitely not follow him and just stay where you are. But I just was curious.
How high was the wall? 6 foot, you said?
6 foot, except where in certain breaches where it's tumbled down. The house, by the way, I should say, is probably about 35 feet, so it definitely is well visible over the wall.
Okay, I'm going to continue to circumnavigate I want to go round to the back of the house. I'm going to turn to... Say, he'll be back in a second. He's just having a quick peek through the window. And then I'm going to turn back to Morthwyl and say, if you're having a little trouble, like hopping over the wall, then just give me a nudge and I'll give you a boost.
Someone better go make sure he's all right. I mean, it was an alchemist's garden. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you'd seen what the alchemist got up to back home, you wouldn't let him go off on his own. And I'd try and jump the wall. Well, I'm 4.5 foot versus a 6 foot wall.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you make an athletics check, but it's a very easy one because it's pretty broken down. So yeah, that's fine. You clamber over without too much difficulty. Again, it's since it's tumbled down, it's even a nice gentle slope, relatively speaking. And when you get to this other side here, hold on a second. Why is that? Okay, there we go. And do we have the thing? Okay. All right. When you get over the side, so Silvo, this is you that deals with this first. When you get over, so you kind of pull yourself over onto the other side of the wall, and you start making your way in, and of course you're going through the garden. And as you're making your way through the garden, which is, again, quite overgrown, there's like tangles of weeds. As I mentioned, you do pass a couple of like what look like garden implements. There might have been an old like trowel, long since like rusted and destroyed and whatever. And behind you, Morthwyl can probably see some of the same, sort of the same thing. As you are making your way, I need you to make a perception check for me, and this is Silvo who's doing this. Okay.
19.
You did a persuasion check, and whilst I'm
Oh.
sure you could persuade things to be seen, I would
Can we
like a
persuade
perception
you
one.
that was his perception roll?
Yeah, I was
Yes,
going to
can I
say.
persuade you as my perception check?
It was a high enough persuasion you could, but no.
Perception. Am I having a blank brain moment? How do perception check?
So you
Oh,
should-
there it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
okay.
I'm having a... Yeah, no, that's better for perception.
Okay. So, Morthwyl, I would like
I
you to make a
noticed nothing.
perception check, not persuasion, as well.
No persuasion.
Yikes.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
So, and
Sounds
just to be
good.
clear, Brine, I
Those
think
trowels are awfully crappily made.
this garden is so overgrown. So, Morthwyl and Silvo, as you're making your way in, Brine, you're still watching from one side of the wall. For
Yeah,
them,
I haven't crossed the wall.
Right, but you're watching them through a breach, is what I'm saying. Through the
I'm moving my way round,
past
but
them.
I'm
Okay, that's what I thought.
an eye on them.
Okay, and Waves, are you watching them or with Brine?
I'm with Brian.
Okay. So in that case, I would say that no one is really going to notice. Actually, Brine, I'll have you make a perception check too then.
14.
Okay. Brine, there is a moment where you're watching and you see, Silvo in front, carefully moving, Morthwyl behind him, carefully moving. And then you see what looks like the slightest sort of flicker of movement in the grass. And then several things happen at once. Something long and sleek and large leaps towards you, Silvo. And at the same time as that happens, Morthwyl, something grabs you around the leg. I'm going to do a grapple check first because something is trying to pull you down to the ground, Morthwyl. So we'll start with this first. This is just an opposed strength check. So they're going to make a strength check, and you're going to make a strength check, and we're going to see where we end up.
Okay. Ooh, 19.
Nice.
Okay.
Not bad for a flat 20.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
that
good.
was a really
So that
nice.
means you're going to pull your your foot clear. And that's good because what you see in front of you and jumping out of the grass, and of course now, Brine, you can see this as well. You see a creature that looks very much like this. It is a very large looking, in fact, giant, one might almost say. It is a giant, unquestionably, weasel. You've all seen weasels before. It's a big, big weasel. And one of these things is you can look down, Morthwyl, and it's a little hard to see them because it poked its face out and was trying to bite at your leg to pull you down. And then when you kicked it off, you just saw this whiskered face for a minute and then it disappeared below the grass. Silvo, this whiskered face is getting in an attack on you because sadly you did not perceive it as you were moving on your way in. So it is going to make an attack and then we are going to roll initiative. You are being attacked by giant weasels.
Giant weasels. We are level 1, people. Don't forget this.
So let's see.
Do we have to
get?
Do we have to return these weasel tails to an innkeeper somewhere?
Probably when you have enough of them. 22 to hit you.
Yes. Yes, I'm a sorcerer.
Yes, indeed, that is going to hit. Okay. Okay. This thing has a nasty jaw. I am sorry to say, Silvo. So this thing clamps down and is currently on you. It does 5 points of damage. And you are currently this big weasel that is basically not quite as big as you, but pretty close, is kind of dangling off of your shoulder as it is clamped onto your shoulder. And with that, everybody, I am going to have us, let me get my little turn tracker out. I'm going to have us roll initiative because we've got some weasels to deal with.
You hear, I'm not going to do it because my throat is really sore, but you hear Silvo, this is probably the biggest scream you've heard through someone's gritted teeth. So he's trying to be really quiet, but his shoulder is being ripped off by a weasel's jaw.
Mm-hmm. I can believe it.
Imagine if you stub your toe really, really hard, but it's in the middle of the night. So you have to make a noise, but you don't want to wake anybody up.
I'm going to pull everybody here onto the map. And then I'm going to add your turns
initiative.
here.
You want me to roll initiative?
Yes,
That's
please.
initiative. Whoa, why did I roll that twice?
Oh, yeah. This
That's
is
weird.
the
Oh, I
snap
didn't
to
roll it.
grid.
Oh, I just animated it twice. Oh, okay.
I do not want you
Unusual.
to snap to grid, please. Please do not snap to grid. Roll 20.
I'm now wondering if there's specific weasel fight music. And just how. Yeah, I'm wondering, like, for levels of encounters,
I have
do
the thing.
people tailor fantasy music? Because everyone, you've got epic fantasy music where you're fighting, like, the multi-headed dragon or the deity. Is there, like, we found rats in the basement kind of music? You're clearing out the chickens that have gone crazy. Sort of the level 1 battle music.
Mm-hmm. That's true. We don't have
Tutorial
a
fight.
giant weasel combat.
Tutorial fight music. That's what you need.
Tutorial
I
fight
actually do.
Do you? please. Oh, you shared it. Fantastic. Let me just. I gotta open this. Oh, click. God damn it.
Okay. So let's get this up a little bit.
That's an excellent choice.
This is giving
I'm gonna
me.
have to.
This
I'm
is
gonna share
giving
some
me
chat.
agita with this. Oh, right. I figured it out. Right. Is drawing. That's what it is. It is a drawing, which is a nice way of saying I want you to not snap to anything so that I can.
All of a sudden, Saber, this has gone a bit jovial considering my character's about to lose an arm.
Okay, we're gonna put.
To be fair, you deserve this.
Yes.
Deserve is a strong word.
It's
I
a
mean,
mutiny.
It's not a mutiny. I want to look in the window. Weirdly, I wanted to look in the window
Also,
to see
why
if there
do
was anything that
weasels
wanted
hate-
to attack us.
Why do weasels hate you?
Well, I've worked with a few in my past. I gotta admit, I mean that's justified.
All right, so let's see. We're going to
Insert point about disarming Silvo here.
Oh, for God's sake.
Wait for another round.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, I know why, because I made this frustrating. All right.
Why the beard of it become security weasels?
Security weasels.
Turn.
I gotta stop that music. It's making me too sad, too happy. This is serious.
Turn.
I think tonally it's about right for our usual shenanigans when it comes to trying to infiltrate
I think
locations.
That yeah.
Well, the
I think
stealth was
that's
fine. It
definitely-
was the perception that was the issue.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah, I definitely think that is that should be the theme tune for whenever we try and do a job. No matter how serious we make our campaign, it always turns into Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Okay. Let's see. Silvo with 15. And Waves, who is probably still just frustrated. Silvo is going to be going.
What
last.
Silver's not frustrated. She's just
Stand there and
disappointed.
shake her head, like.
Yep.
You're not mad. You're just disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
So much
Silent
worse.
judgment. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got that. We've got Silvo. We've got Brine with 10. Waves with 8. And we'll go back up to the top there. And do this. Okay, cool. And let's see.
Oh, there was something I wanted to say actually. Are we still in the moment where the weasel has sunk its teeth into my shoulder?
Yes.
Excellent. So there's like weasel tooth and blood and God knows what spilling down my shoulder at this point in time, and I that kind of stifled scream through my teeth is ended with, oh, I really wish you hadn't have done that.
Ah, okay. Good to know. So, let's get moving. Let's start with Morthwyl. You were up first. Silvo is on deck. So, Morthwyl, you have a giant weasel right by your leg. It is, again, you just saw it disappear underneath the grass, so you have a sense of where it is. However, it's not super easy to see because it is, again, below this garden cover, so to speak.
I'm gonna take a disengage action.
Okay.
to avoid attacks of opportunity, and I want to move back towards the wall as far as I can with a speed of 25.
All right. So basically double moving it then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I'm going to move this over there so that people can see.
Apologies, headphone users. I didn't realize I wasn't muted when I coughed then. Sorry.
It's okay.
And
right.
looking at everyone else, I'll need to upload my backgroundless version of my portrait for next time.
Yeah, we will have a map inside the house, but at the moment we're more theater of the minding it. So you're moving back and away from it. You can do that. As you do it, though, you are conscious, Morthwyl, that there are other things moving below the surface. You would, if you had to guess, there's more than just 2 of these giant weasels. You don't know how many yet, but more than 2. But you were able to make your way over. And you want to be like back up against the wall, did you say?
Yeah, as close to the wall as I can get, basically. I don't know how far away we got before.
I would say that you can get back to the wall. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So you can get with your back to the wall. Now, important, do you want to get back to the wall which is high behind, like one of the non-tumbled sections? Or do you want back to the wall where it's a breach to the outside that you clambered in on?
It's not important, really, just as long as the wall's behind me and not long grass.
Got it. Okay. Sounds like a plan. Silvo, you are up next. You have got a weasel hanging on you. At the moment, it is not restricting your movement, but it is literally clamped on. So
Silvo kind of falls to his knees. It's just so I understand what's going on here. How far away is Morthwyl from Silvo at this point?
now that Morthwyl is moved back, probably 35, 40 feet, because Morthwyl moved back.
That's fine. Yeah, there's a cry of pain as he falls to his knees, and dark tentacles sprouts from his back in an uncontrollable fashion, and I'm going to cast Arms of Hadar on the giant weasel. So Arms of Hadar basically says, you invoke the power of Hadar, the dark hunger. Tendrils of dark energy erupt from you and batter all creatures within 10 feet of you. Each creature that in that area must make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, the target takes 2d6 necrotic damage and cannot take reactions until its next turn. So, could the giant weasel take take a strength saving throw?
It's one of those nasty ones where they take half damage even if they pass as well.
Yep, it's a save or suck.
Those nearly did me in a few times in the last campaign.
And it is a DC of 19 or 9 that we're trying to beat, right?
DC. Oh, how do I find out what my DC is?
I think it says it right there.
Oh no,
I think it says spell save DC is 9.
13.
Interesting. I wonder why it says 9 on there.
Oh, where does it say on yours?
I just clicked on the description.
Spell save DC. Oh no, so my spell save DC on my sheet is 13.
Okay, all right. That is good to know. It does make it. Perhaps it's because it's below the grass. But it is going to take half damage, so you're still going to be rolling.
So yes, it does take half damage. So I rolled
2d6. Oh, you did
2d6.
already.
So yeah, it automatically rolled it because it's not set up properly, unfortunately. So it will take 4 necrotic damage in total because that's halved, and it has no other effects until its next turn. But these tentacles, like there's like a dozen like long 10-foot black inky things just suddenly sticking out of Silvo and just battering all the grass and everything. So I don't know if there's any other weasels in the area within 10 feet of me.
There are not within 10 feet of you.
Okay.
However, this thing, you'll be happy to know, does knock this thing from you. It's not dead, but it's definitely hurt, and it is knocked from you, sort of, lets go almost in shock and kind of falls somewhere below the level of the grass. And the rest of you, I would say, or who are looking in at this, all see this happen. So you can all see these tentacles sort of out of his back.
Yeah. So there's an orb of tentacles just thrashing around for about 3 or 4 seconds, and then they all just straight back into me. There's like blood and now tears streaming down my face. Can I move at this point after I cast a spell? I can't remember.
I would say yes, because you did the spell first.
Yes.
So I would say yes, you could then move if you wish. Also, I would say that it's not going to get an attack of opportunity because it's not stunned, but it's been sort of literally thrown off by what you just did. So yes.
I will move 30 feet away from this weasel, presumably in the direction of my other colleagues,
Okay.
where Brine and Waves currently are. So I don't know how big 30 feet would be on this map, but I'm gonna guess if Morthwyl's about 40 feet away from me, I'm gonna be about there now.
Okay.
Give or take.
All right, that sounds reasonable. You also, as you can move, can see different things moving below the grass. So again, there's more than two. You think of these things.
I get kind of close to Morthwyl. I'm just like, it's probably time to leave. It's probably time to leave.
Okay, that's going to lead us to Brine is up next. Brine, what would you like to do? You just saw the tentacle thing happen, and there are these weasels about within the garden.
I'm going to turn to who's next to me, and I'm just going to elbow her and point. And did you see that? And then I am
Abracadabra.
I know. I've never seen
It's
anything
a
like it.
spell.
It's a spell. Okay, I've not seen that one before. I've obviously seen the weasel attack Morthwyl and then him kind of back away. And I've seen the weasel attack Silvo and him being thrown down. Can I see any other movement in the grass nearby where I am?
Yes. A couple of spots you see movement.
Can I reach over the wall and stab into where I think it is without actually climbing over the wall?
I don't think so. You might theoretically be able to climb into the breach of the wall, and maybe, although I would argue, we'd have to talk a little bit about attack penalties when you're on top of the wall. You could maybe attack from on top of one of those breaches, like, if it's crumbled down, maybe it's a few feet above the ground, you could climb onto it and maybe attack from there. It's going to be difficult to maintain your balance, but no, it's too thick for you to be able to reach over and stab effectively down into the grass. So you could try to, if you wanted to attack from range, you could fire through the breach, but if you want to melee, you're going to have to climb over the wall and get in close and personal.
Okay, I've not, this isn't macro, but I do have a crossbow and 20 crossbow bolts.
Could do that. I
But
will
I've
warn
got
you, it's
both
going to
of
be a
my
rough shot,
scimitars.
though. I'm just going to warn you, because these things are below the grass. They're not easy to see. The only one that's obviously visible right now is the one that just fell off of Silvo. So you could get a clean shot off on that. The other ones in the grass are going to be hard to hit from, regardless, but they're going to be hard to hit from distance because it's hard to see them. So I'm just letting you know.
Okay, because I've got both of my scimitars already out, can I still use my crossbow, or
Yes.
I can. Okay.
You can do that. That's simple enough. All you basically are doing in that scenario is you are just basically dropping your scimitars and or sheathing them and pulling out your crossbow. If you switch quickly from one to the other, normally it takes an action if you want to go from one to the other without just basically dropping them to the ground. So the image I have is, you drop the scimitars, pull out the crossbow, and then it'll take you an action to pick the scimitars back up and drop the crossbow if you wish to do that. But initially here, just dropping the scimitars to the ground on this side of the wall and then using a crossbow, that's fine.
Okay, I'm going to do that then, and I'm going to aim for the weasel that's just attacked Silvo, as that's the visible one.
Okay.
It's not macros, though, so I don't quite know what I'm supposed to press.
Oh, on your character sheet? Let's see. Hold on a second while I pull that up. You should be able to... Oh, I see, yeah. Okay, well, a crossbow, that's a dexterity attack, based attack. So, assuming that you are proficient in using the crossbow, which I'm almost certain you would be as a fighter, then that means all you would do is just, for the moment, until we macro it, you just roll a 20-sided die. You would add your... Just looking to see... Yeah. So then you would...
modifier +2.
Yep.
Yeah.
And proficiency.
Yeah, so you add your,
your
dex
proficiency.
modifier and your proficiency to a
Right.
20-sided die.
So we're looking at a 4, basically. 1d20 plus 4.
So it'd be +2 for dex and +2 for proficiency, so it's +4.
Yep.
So 21.
Okay. That will absolutely hit.
So no damage.
so now you can roll damage.
1d8 plus dex, I think it is.
Not plus dex.
Was it not plus dex?
But crossbow, I'm not sure a crossbow is 1d8 actually.
I'm just reading my macro.
Crossbow is 1d6 plus dex.
1d6.
It is.
I have one.
1d6. It is plus dex.
Is it 1d6? I've got 1d8 on my
I've
crossbow.
also got 1d8.
I've got a hand crossbow. I've got a small one.
I have a light crossbow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
I've
Actually,
got
do you
light.
have a light crossbow, Brian, or a hand crossbow?
I have a light crossbow.
Okay, so then I guess that is
then
1d8.
Because I chose the light crossbow because of the dex bonus.
Yeah,
I like
so
that we've all got crossbows, though.
So it's 1d8 plus dex, yeah?
I want to double check just very quickly on the dex though, because normally you don't add to. So give me one second.
The hand crossbow does. Not sure about the light one.
Right.
I didn't hand make this, so like this macro. So I think.
Yeah, no, it's just 1d8 piercing. It's not plus dex. That's what I thought.
Oh, is it not plus
It's
dex?
just 1d8 piercing
Oh,
because
okay.
dex wouldn't make any sense. The dex is the to hit, but
Yeah, I was gonna
you don't get
say.
extra damage. You know, like a composite longbow, you can add strength bonuses and things like that. But
I
for something like
see.
this, it's just 1d8 piercing. That's what I thought.
Okay, so it's just a straight d8.
That's correct.
3.
All right. Okay, that creature that you just hit, which was hit by the tentacles and now hit by your bolt, is very hurt. You can see kind of blood streaking its fur, and it kind of like wickers at you angrily, and then ducks its head down below the grass, but it is clearly very hurt. Now, Brian, you could move if you wish. Obviously, your scimitars are out of the ground and your crossbow's out, so you could also just sheathe your crossbow and pick up your scimitars, or pick up and sheathe your scimitars if you wish, and just not move. If you wanted to just basically stay in place, you could do that instead.
I'm going to stay in place, pick up my scimitars and sheathe them, but I'm going to strategically move half a shuffle to the left in case I'm in waves, is like line of fire.
Okay, sounds like a plan. And what's up, Tim Coolish? Okay, it is...
I'm really sorry. You do IG Dex to a ranged attack. Page 177 of the player's handbook.
It's on D&D Beyond as well.
Yeah. You add attack rolls and damage. You add your dexterity modifier to your attack roll and your damage roll when attacking with a ranged weapon, such as a sling or a longbow.
Okay, so that 3 is plus 2, so 5 damage.
Okay. The thing that's weird about that, all right.
I remember.
I respectfully disagree with the player's handbook, but I'm not going to make a ruling on it right now. Like they can't even agree with themselves, which is why we have 1d8 piercing and not 1d8 piercing plus dex on their own sheet. But okay,
Yeah.
I will do that for now. And we'll
I just
do it
wondered
later on.
where I got that from, so I just googled, "Do you add dex to a longbow to a crossbow?"
Yeah.
And it was like, "Yeah, it's here." So I was like, "Well, I've got the book right next to me. I may as well just double check." It's entirely your call if you want to do that, but anyone who has a crossbow would need to then delete that because it's the what's on
Right,
the
because it's
sheet
what they
on-
do for D&D Beyond. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't actually agree with it, but I will deal with that later on. We're not going to deal with it right now because it doesn't. It's not logical that that's how it should work. But anyway, I accept it for now. So that means that the thing is actually instead going to be hit in the face, basically, and instead of wickering angrily at you, it just drops to the ground, slithers below the ground, but you think it slithers from death, basically. And that is, after we've got that on score. So that one is now dead, and then you did everything else you just said, Brian, I assume. So now we are going to go on to waves. So you have just seen what has transpired. There are weasels attacking your companions.
I take out a small hand crossbow, kind of cute, a small one. Take aim, but before I shoot, I'll try to startle the weasels, in the hope that they will, I don't know, maybe be confused or maybe check or even get afraid. So I will bark at them.
Okay, so you're going to bark at the weasels. Okay.
Like this.
Interesting. Okay.
And then I'm gonna shoot at the weasel.
Okay. So now this one that you're attacking on, you're going to be doing. This one is going to be at disadvantage because it is below the grass, unfortunately.
Okay. First roll was a 20. Let's see for the second. 26.
Well, either one. In this case, you'll take the 20, but it will definitely hit. That is definitely a hit. You see it despite its attempt to slither out of your way.
Wait, why is it not doing the damage? Well, I'm just going to do it by hand. It's 1d6 plus 5. Then. And why am I rolling like this? Strange. 1d6 plus 5. 9 damage for the weasel.
Okay. That is quite a hit. All right, so that... Now, wait a minute here. We got 1d6 plus...
5.
Your dex bonus is 5?
Yes, I've got a 20 in dexterity.
Oh, that's right. We talked about these rolls. Yes, I remember
Yes.
people
So
not believing them.
for everybody in chat who's wondering, we rolled our stats, and I rolled godlike.
Dex.
I rolled godlike. So yes, I do have a 20 in dexterity with this character.
Oh,
Yeah.
the acrobat, jeez.
Which was to kind of go because I think what you did was you adjusted it upward, right? Because technically you can't roll a 20 directly off of a thing.
We screenshotted the rolls, and I had a witness.
Okay, we'll have to talk about this because this is my problem with D&D Beyond. You can't roll. There's no way to create a starting stat roll of 20. You can have a starting
No, but
stat.
I'm a kenku. I get +2.
That
Pyron
is
rolled this
different.
in roll
That's
20 as
different.
well.
That's different. That's different. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, then yeah, 20. You are extremely dexterous. Then that is cool for you
I'm a
because that is
bird.
going to execute that weasel with great prejudice. So it just directly through the throat. Yeah, that's what it was, Triffid. Yeah. So, all right, that one slides to the ground. There is less movement in the grass, but it has not disappeared completely. Okay, so that was a good shot after doing the barking. Are you going to try to move anywhere, or are you going to stay on this side, shooting, from a distance into the grass?
I'll try to move towards where Silvo and Morthwyl are.
Okay. All right. You can do that. So you can move towards. Now, to do that, do you want to move because they're both inside the wall? Do you want to clamber through the breach you just fired through, or do you want to? If you follow.
The quickest way to get to them, I'll take it.
Okay. So that would be clambering into the wall, or on into the inside of the wall. Okay. So you do that, and now it is the weasel's turn, having been reduced considerably in significance after those early attacks. Okay, let's see. Okay. So 2 more are going to appear. And let's see. I'm going to say... All right, one of them, I don't think they're going to go towards you. I think one of them is going to attack Morthwyl first. Again, springing out of the grass. Not the same one you just killed, but I mentioned there was movement that was near you, Morthwyl. So, however, I think it's going to miss pretty badly. That is a 9 to hit.
Yeah, no, it's just gone wide.
So that is snaps, its jaws snap on air. As my camera snaps on not actual audio focusing. Come on, camera.
Morthwyl just flails it, going, "Bugger off, you vermin!"
Yes, and it tries to do that. So... Okay, there we go. So, okay, there we go. So, yes, it snaps on air and slides back again below the grass. The other one, you feel something grab at your leg as you make your way in. This is going to be an opposed strength roll again. So something grabs at your leg, and I need you to make a strength check for me, please. Okay, so we're looking at a 9. This creature rolled considerably higher than that. So what that means is you are knocked to the ground, and something clamps onto your leg. It's going to do a little damage, not very much, just a point of damage. But it is now dragging you behind it. and you feel it your body is being dragged away, and as you kind of look up through the grass that's kind of going over your head, you can see you're being dragged towards the front of the house, and it looks like towards the rose bush, if you had to guess. Okay, that is going to lead us to the top of the round. Morthwyl, you can see that is on the ground and is being dragged away slowly. Also, there's a weasel right on you.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry. I'm not used to being first on the initiative order. So, the one that's grabbed... Do I have a good line of sight on that? Because I imagine there's a person-sized...
Yes, I would say
trench.
so. You can see, like, its sleek back, basically, as it pulls through the grass. So, yes.
Okay. So I pull out from my tool belt with a flourish my lockpick, and holding it in the air, it starts to glow fiery, and then what was my spell again? Damn, ruined my flow. A firebolt strikes out at the weasel.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be, hang on, I have a macro for this. Well, a 23 hit it.
A 23 will absolutely hit it.
For 4 damage.
Okay, so 4 points of damage, and that hits it. Now, let me actually see. That is going to hit it. It's not going to kill it. There is this probably somewhat disturbing moment for Waves where the bolt just like literally goes over the head, like passes next to your beak, and then hits, and you smell singed fur and this terrible kind of wickering sound. It does not, however, let go of Waves, or at least not yet. But you definitely hit it and damaged it.
I'm going to shift away from the wall to potentially give Brine a chance to get over if she chooses to. So I'm going to shift over towards just like 5. I'm going to move 5 feet towards.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, you can definitely slide in that direction. Okay, I'm going to jump down to Silvo. Let me just quickly address something in chat, though, from Raven Technique. So I want to explain something quickly about this, just because I think there can be confusion. What Mike did there was exactly what he should do, which was to help clarify something. I've been DMing for well over 30 years, so I know the rules quite well, but I've also DM'd literally 5 different editions and run, at the moment, 5 campaigns involving 4 different systems. So this was a situation where D&D Beyond, and I won't get into things about D&D Beyond, sometimes adds rules and stuff like that I don't necessarily do, and I have very few house rules, but one of them generally tends to be relating to crossbows and bows and things like that. Mike was quite right to bring up the fact that the player's handbook disagrees with my own interpretation, so rather than getting into a big back and forth discussion about it now, I'm just going to go with it because it's not ultimately that important, and then I'll decide and I'll come back to the players after that. So I don't want you to feel in any way like I love this group, I love these players. Everyone has mutual respect here, and so don't at all feel like we're arguing. This is what should be done. I am not a god, and so they made something to make sure that we got the rule right. So that was all.
Well, I think you'll have one group of people that will disagree with you on that statement. I think you are a god. You're a goddamn cap-wearing DM god. Anyway, I completely agree with you on that one. I didn't want there to be feeling like there was any kind of discourse in regards to that. No, 100%. I think from my perspective, just to get my perspective out for chat as well, is that I had created this character sheet with this light crossbow, and it had added this to the damage macro. So you kind of saying that it wasn't supposed to be like that. I wasn't saying, well, actually it is. I just kind of wanted to know, well, where did I get that from?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I wouldn't have just added that just for
Nope, you're right.
Just for poops and giggles. Like, it would have been added somewhere while I was doing that, and this would have been, a few months ago that we started making these character sheets.
I did it to myself earlier with that stealth check because I wasn't sure why I'd rolled twice, and it turns out I do roll at disadvantage. But I was like, I'm sure I've seen that somewhere.
Also,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have to. We as players, we all have to remember the fact that these are the first time we're actually pressing these buttons in a real life hot situation. Like we've practiced pressing these buttons for a few times and assumed everything is correct. We may have made mistakes. The rulebook may have made mistakes. Arv may have made mistakes. So imagine all of these character sheets at the moment just kind of made out of clay. We're just rounding some of the edges off over the first few. Kind of trust me. You go back and watch the Storm King's Thunder streams in the first few episodes of that. None of us know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that I do understand Raven technique in a way, though, because if you have played in a group where arguing or bickering about the rule is common, it can just drain the joy out of a game.
Yeah,
And
Right,
so
no, totally
I do
agree.
understand why he was like seeing the situation and maybe, or they seeing the situation and just maybe like remembering something like that about, this is the stuff I don't like about role playing. And I totally get that because I used to DM for a Shadowrun group, which involved 2 ex-military guys.
Oh
And
man,
that was
that
interesting.
was a joy, I'll bet. So that's exactly right, and I wanted to mention this to Raven. I actually was bringing it up because I saw you say this is why I want to stay away from D&D, and that makes me sad. D&D is my favorite game and it's hugely important to me, and I love playing with this group, and I'm lucky to have all of my players that I play with. So yeah, basically what I was saying is I didn't want you to get the wrong idea. Like, we're not actually arguing. It was just about getting the rule right, and yes, there are groups that can bicker, and I don't DM any of those groups because I hate it. So we don't do that. So I was just letting you know that it's all good, and hopefully, you can see the joy that comes from D&D as you watch further. So that was all. All right, back to the action. So that was that was Morthwyl. So up next is Silvo. So Silvo, there are 2 left. One is hurt, the other one is not.
There's a lot going on
but
right
one
now.
is currently dragging. You can see. I should put that one over there so we can see it. One is dragging waves towards the rose bush. You can see. The other one is somewhere around you, although you don't know exactly where. Somewhere between you and Morthwyl.
Okay. With regards to ranged attacks, can I move and then make a ranged attack? I'm asking these sort of questions because I've never played a ranged attack character before.
You can do that. I will tell you that ranged is going to be difficult. You're going to do it at disadvantage here because you're...
That's what that means.
Yeah, just letting you know, because it's below the
Okay,
grass.
sweet.
Again,
Yeah,
although not at the one, I should say, not the one that's dragging, because that one actually is, the back is visible, so you could
Okay,
hit
that
it
is
with,
definitely the one I'm going to be aiming for. So
Okay.
I'm going to move forwards and where am I moving to? Oh, Jesus. I'm clicking on the stream.
I've done that as well before.
I wasn't clicking. My brain is not.
I'm not
my brain
alone.
is. My brain is like 100 degrees right now. Like
I'm not alone.
You're lucky I'm still wearing a t-shirt. Like it's what. Yeah. Here we go. So I'm
Whoa.
gonna move. So I'm gonna be about here-ish, I guess, or am I gonna be closer to Morthwyl at this point? I'm gonna guess that's gonna be about 30 feet.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
As a rough guess, because I'm kind of
You're pretty
I'm
close
not,
to
I'm
Morthwyl
not
at this
sprinting,
point.
but I'm kind of like half running. I'm also holding a shoulder.
Yep.
I don't know if that's gonna factor into my aiming ability, but I am gonna whip out my light crossbow and aim for the one that is dragging away through the grass.
Okay.
So doing this, I can't be disadvantaged, can I? Because of my arm.
Yeah, no.
No. Good.
Pretty much you're just working with the one disadvantage that you have.
Good. So let's do. So it is that plus. Yeah. So I just clicked the macro. There we go. So I'm at disadvantage. It's a 6.
Okay. Yeah. So unfortunately, but wait now. Which one were you firing at?
The one that was dragging. Oh no, it wasn't a
This is
disadvantage.
not
was it? 'Cause
disadvantage,
It was
yeah.
visible.
So that means it's an 18, and
It's
that
an
will
18.
absolutely hit.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Thank you for that. So damage on that will be 4 points of piercing damage.
Okay, so good news about that. So you hit it. It slows down, and in fact, I'm going to say that it drops. So it drops. Now you're still prone, Waves, but it drops you and is no longer dragging you. It looks quite hurt now, having been hit. So, but it has now dropped you into the garden's grass. and is somewhere below. So your hit strikes true, Silvo. And I assume you're going to stay around Morthwyl, roughly speaking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I have no more room to move.
Yeah,
so
like
I'm going to stay where I am.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to lead us to Brine. Waves is going to be on deck. Brine, you are up next. 2 weasels left. One that was dragging away. Waves, it seems, has dropped her now and is quite hurt. And the other one is somewhere over by Morthwyl.
Okay, I'm gonna shout across, don't let him ruffle your feathers. And then I'm gonna aim my crossbow at the hurt one.
Okay. Go ahead and fire. Now, this is going to be a disadvantage again because it is dropped below the grass level because it let go of her.
Okay.
So.
I'm gonna have to type this in manually because it's still not macroed.
Okay.
10.
That would be a 10. I believe a 10 is not going to get it done. No, that's a miss. Unfortunately, it shoots over and embeds in the grass. And you can still move if you wish, or not.
Can I, for my movement, can I like scurry up? Because I'm currently on the V section of the crumbled wall.
Right.
Can I climb up one side of that and walk along the top of the wall?
I will allow you to try that. Because the wall is crumbly, you should know that it's not going to be easy up there because other parts of it could give way. But I'll allow you to try it if you want.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so when you climb up there, I'm going to ask you to do, please, I will take, no, not athletics, acrobatics is what I would take. If you have it, otherwise just a straight dexterity check is fine. So you roll your 20, add your dex modifier, or acrobatics, even better. Okay, yeah, I would say that you're able to get up on top of it. And remember, that wall, the non-crumbled part, is 6 feet high. So you are now, towering above, right, the garden below, and the rest of your companions and the remaining weasels below.
Leap
Okay,
of faith.
I'm
Leap of
looking
faith.
Any
Leap of faith.
movement at all? But
Yeah, you do.
that's
You
the end
could.
of my
I mean,
turn.
you could. You could walk up or down the wall depending on how you want to go. I will say that it's difficult terrain up there, so you're going to be going only at half speed. But you could move. Basically, what is that? 15. Your speed is normally 30, probably.
My speed is 30. Yeah.
Okay, so you could move 15, either direction that you like.
Okay. I'm going to move in the vague direction towards the rose bush, but I understand that there might be more like broken bits, so I'm not going on to any broken bits. I'm just walking in that kind of direction, but I'm keeping an eye out for any movement in the grass.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's going to lead us to who is currently prone, but is not grappled anymore, and the creature that was grabbing you is right next to your feet, or close to your feet.
I would like to skewer it with my rapier, please.
Okay. All right. So you can do that. Feel free to poke away at it. Now, this one I'm going to say is not going to be a disadvantage here because it literally just dropped you and you're right near it and you're melee attacking it. So I would say this is just a standard, regular attack with your rapier.
Okay. So, Waves, doesn't really get up, but at least, takes a rapier, sits up.
Okay, that's it. I've had enough.
22 should hit.
That's a hit. It does seem like you've had enough. Go ahead and roll your damage.
That's 1d8 plus 5. 13.
Wow. Okay. So you practically pick it up and throw it over your head. Like you just destroy this thing. The body, a limp body, goes flying through the air. I would say hits the wall of the house and just slumps down. It is quite dead. All right, and now you could stand if you wish. That would use up your movement to stand.
Yeah, I would like to stand and look angry, please.
Okay, I mean, both done, no question. All right, that leaves one weasel remaining, and that one is going to try... Let's see, I think it's going to attack you again, Morthwyl, and it's going to try to grapple you again. So go ahead and make your strength roll, please, for me. Oh, yeah. That yeah. So you, it is not. You just are like, get off. You just kick the thing off. Not even close. And it's your turn, Morthwyl, actually.
Bugger off!
So same deal. If you wanted to make a melee attack, because it's right there, you could actually get in. You know, like just a standard attack, if you would.
I am in fact going to follow up with another firebolt. I think.
Okay.
It's my better option, generally speaking.
All right. So you're gonna back up 5 feet, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
And from the tip of my lockpick with a 23.
Okay. I would say that is a hit.
And we hit for 3 damage.
Okay. So it sizzles and wickers like angrily, but is not dead, but it is definitely hurt. Okay. That's going to lead us to Silvo with Brine on deck. Silvo, there's one remaining, and the one, apparently, you don't see any other movement, and the one remaining is currently singed and vaguely visible because of the being hit by the firebolt.
Can I actually see it?
I would say you basically can see it, yes, thanks to the firebolt having set it aflame briefly.
Okay, so I can see like burning fur.
Just
like,
for a
in the
moment, yeah.
underbrush, just for a moment. Okay, cool. There's a sharp pain in Silvo's head as he grabs his temple. And I would like the weasel to make me an intelligence saving throw.
Okay. An intelligence saving throw.
An intelligence saving throw. Yeah. So there's an audible kind of from Silvo next to Morthwyl.
Okay. What's my DC that I'm looking
DC
for?
is 13.
So, okay. This thing actually has an intelligence, I wouldn't normally tell you this, of 4. So it has a -3, but I rolled a 19. So it does actually... So it's just like, it's the smartest weasel of all time. It apparently just...
Excellent. It's King Weasel.
Yeah, it's King Weasel.
Cool. Nothing else happens.
of me? No, it doesn't say that.
Nothing else happens as far as you guys are aware. Silvo's got a headache.
That was amazing.
I would like to move away quite rapidly. Preferably there.
Okay.
About 25, 30 feet away from the weasel. One of
Weasel
its
is
friends tried to rip my arm off.
Weasel was not having it. Okay, that's going to lead us to Brine is up next. Waves is on deck. Brine, you can see Silvo making his way away from where the flamed body of the weasel is now settled down, is just embers, no longer on fire.
Okay, but it's visible now. It's not gone beneath the grass level.
It is not gone beneath the grass yet, no.
Okay, so I'm going to once again shoot with my crossbow. I am keeping track of how many bolts I'm using, by the
Good. I
way.
think it's like 3 so. Okay.
So yeah, I'm going to fire at that weasel again. 9 to hit.
And that is going to miss, sadly. It's whoosh, just like over the shoulder of the weasel into the grass. Are you going to... You were on top of the wall. Are you going to move at all?
I am... Can I kind of do... I want to hop down off the wall because I can see that there's no other movement in the grass. Is that correct?
That's right. This is,
So
by the way,
I-
a little bit of a big hop. This is a 6-foot hop, just so you know. I mean, it's fine, but I'm just letting you know that it's, it's one of those, like, Captain America lands as opposed to,
I'm going to try and make it look as fancy as possible
dramatic. Okay, you got you.
without stabbing myself with my crossbow.
Okay, I think you're able to do that.
You're going for the Black Widow pose.
Yeah, I'm actually going to have you
Exactly.
make... I'm going to have you make an acrobatics check, a very easy one. But I am going to have you make one.
It's just for style purposes.
For style.
Pose,
Yeah, exactly.
no pose. Now you're getting it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to it was the proper superhero landing.
Yeah.
I fall on my face.
No, you don't. As I said, it was very easy. I would say that you're like a little unsteady because your foot slips a bit when you're pushing off the wall because the wall is not particularly stable, but you land okay. Just not as Captain America-y as you might have hoped.
You just didn't do a backflip first.
Right,
that's all.
exactly.
You just missed you just didn't do that little twirl,
Exactly.
Okay, I'm fine. And then carry on.
I planned all that. Okay,
Absolutely.
next up is you now are able to you're now standing up, looking angry, And you can see, as I mentioned, the weasel, which is just embers are going out on its fur.
Wait, me?
Yes, you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought it was still like the landing. Okay. Do I see any living weasel?
One. It's the one living weasel that you see is the one that was just lit on fire by Morthwyl very
Okay.
briefly.
Okay. I want to go to that weasel and stab it.
Okay. So you basically just charge at it, as I understand it.
Yes.
Okay. Running through the grass.
Yes.
With your
the weasel.
rapier. Otherwise, all right. Go ahead and make your attack.
The rapier dripping with weasel blood.
With weasel blood, exactly. Weasels.
15.
15 will hit.
Okay. I've got so many windows open. 1d8 plus 9.
Okay. So, yeah, this thing... Whoosh, and by the way, rapier finesse, which is why we're using the dex modifier instead of strength.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you stab it directly. And again, so what I just want to point out that the last 12 seconds basically consisted of, of just bang against the wall, runs up, stabs the other thing through the throat, and it slumps to the ground. There is no more movement in the grass. And there's just a sort of eerie silence except for the sound of the waves as you all look at with kind of, I don't know how you're looking at her, but they're
I'm gonna give her like a nod and a wink, and that was pretty impressive. Like, tip my hat. I want to turn to the others, and say that weasel was dragging towards that rose bush. That seemed did that seem a little odd to anyone else?
I ignore that and stomp towards Silvo as much as a bird can stomp.
I'm already like, I've got like
barely know much about weasels
like
myself.
a grubby bandage, and I'm just wrapping it around my shoulder. I'm just like trying to tie my shoulder back together. Just like, mother.
I point at you and say,
You would not last one day in the Navy.
Yep, that's probably true.
and then I point at your arm
No worries.
and motion towards you that I would like to lay my hand on it.
There's a second where I'm just like, what are you doing? But then I don't move back any more than that, and I'll let you do what you're gonna do.
So I'll do a lay on hand and heal 4 hit points.
Alrighty.
Thank you. That's I take like the bandage off and like. That's healed really
I have
well,
a bit. I have a bit and use the last lay on hands on myself for my lost hit points.
I didn't quite mean for that to go like that. I'm sorry.
Your lucky weasels was the worst of it. I knew a guy who was working on a whistling man-eating bush. If you hear any whistles, don't go in the bush.
That is a statement to live by, my friend. A statement to live by. And Silvo just kind of like got his one hand against his temple, like he's just still got a really bad headache. I'm just gonna probably stick with you guys for now.
Waves nods emphatically.
Still though, wonder what was in that rose bush, like Brine mentioned.
Well, we could set it on fire and find out.
Can I kind of not get too close, but can I kind of creep up to the rose bush and just see if I can hear any noises or see anything that just looks a little strange for a bush?
I'll have you do, you can choose on this one. I'll either have you do an investigation or a survival check, if you like, whichever works better for you. And investigation is intelligence driven, survival is wisdom driven, but
yeah, my wisdom is shocking. So I'm gonna go investigation. 13.
Okay. So with this 13, you are in fact able to determine Bear with me just 1 second. It's like that.
And I forgot I got to put guidance on that, not that it matters. But I need to, for my own benefit, I need to remember that that's a thing I can do.
I'll make sure that I get that up there like that. Okay. Good, lovely. Yeah, when you look at this carefully, Brine, you are almost certain that there is an area which has been dug out underneath the rose bush. If you had to take a guess, it's probably perhaps where the weasels made their lair. If you had to guess, I mean, you could obviously investigate further, but you're almost sure that what you're looking at is this rose bush is basically where the 4 weasels picked a place to make their home, and you happen to walk into the middle of it.
I'm going to back slowly away from the rose bush and turn to my companions and say, I think that might be a weasel there, but I don't know if it has anything to do with the house. I mean, we could burn it, but if there is anyone in the house, they might see that.
Wonder if these were the vampire rats that were supposed to be around these parts.
They did have pretty big teeth.
Well, if I was at the point of the bottle, like Canis was, I mean, it wouldn't be too far away from what I was thinking.
I'm gonna like make noises and like good thinking towards Silvo.
So I'm probably going to suggest we avoid that hole that's potentially full of things that want to eat my limbs.
That sounds like a good plan. Maybe we should fill it in first.
I'm not touching it. You guys want to fill that hole in, that's absolutely fine. I'm going on the other side of the wall.
We're really hired to be gardeners now.
I agree.
We've got more important things to do. I agree. All right, let's press on.
I mean, unless we've got anything burning that we could fill it with. Like, does anybody know how to just make lava?
From orbit? It's the only way to be sure.
No.
Because now I'm starting to feel like I have a serious dislike of giant weasels, or weasels in general, really. I'm feeling a multi-classing ranger so I can get favored enemy.
in before the weasel never shows up for the entire rest of the campaign.
The entire rest of the
Sleep
game.
well, friendly kitten. Thank you for the follow. Okay. So if you're making your way back, are you still planning to move around the house towards the back side of it?
Yes, but not in the garden.
But not in the garden, okay. So outside the wall again you all go in that case.
Oh, yes. I've learned
and
that.
you make your way around until you come to...
Oh, wait, hang on, sorry. So were we near a window? Like, when we were being attacked?
You were heading near a window when you got attacked by the weasels, yes.
Are we near a window right now? Like, if I'm stood outside a window, I'm going to peek in.
Okay. So, as you look inside, the window pane actually is broken. In fact, a lot of the window panes are broken. You could theoretically kind of, bash your way through if you're careful and climb in through it. What you can see just in this closest window here is a little spot like that which is lit by the outside light. Inside you can't see a whole lot except that there's a bunch of junk and like just trash scattered all over the floor, and everything looks very dilapidated as you might expect. Damp. You see just sort of on the edge of the floor you can see a lot of spots of black that might be mold possibly of some kind, and so that's basically what you see at the moment. It is dim inside here, but you can see some of it because of the lighting from the windows, but it does look big enough that you could probably climb through. These are, I believe, 5-foot squares, so you could theoretically, if you wanted to like break out the rest of the glass, you could do that and go into it if you wished.
Nope. Hard pass from me. Hard
Now
pass.
I want to go round the back and have a look
Yep.
around.
Hard
Okay.
pass. I am
I
out.
think we should stick to the back door myself.
Yep, absolutely. I've seen enough to know that there is a house in this house. I'm not going to investigate any further on my own.
Okay. So as you go around back, you follow along until the house turns, basically the wall turns, and inside you can actually see what looks like a back, almost like a portico or something like that is on the other side of this room you were just looking into. And there is what looks to be a door. Let me bring everybody up to that section. Hold on a second. Right there. And you can see what looks to be a door right here that is currently closed. Again, more broken window pane, another broken window pane right here, right next to it. And then the house, continues to extend off this way and then turns back north again. So this is like the back of one portion of the house, basically.
Morthwyl's going to check the porch and door for traps.
Okay. Let me have you go ahead and make your roll. Hey,
Okay.
Dam.
What would I be testing against? Would it be investigation or perception?
For this, it would be investigation.
Okay. 12.
And you were checking, I'm sorry, the door and the window, or just the door? Are you checking
The door in the porch type area that we've seen.
Yeah, no, you're pretty sure that it's not trapped. The door itself is like almost warped. I mean, it looks like you'll be able to open it, but it definitely looks like nothing has been done to this door other than just the abandonment of it, from what you can tell. The window is broken. I mean, if there's a trap there, then it's pretty well concealed, and it's hard to believe it wouldn't have been triggered already, because the window pane is also broken here. And in fact, you can see, again, as you look through the window, you can see this, and on the other side of where you're looking, you can see the other window you were just looking through. So indeed, this seems to be a decent sized room there.
Okay. Oh, well, I can't see any tripwires or the like.
Okay. Well,
And
that's good enough for me.
as we
Off you go.
As we go round, this wall still circumnavigates the house. I know it's on a cliff face, but there is no section of the wall that's adjacent to the cliff. It just goes around in a circle until we get back to the gate again. Is that correct?
That is right. That's correct. There's no spot that the wall does not cover. You're sort of seeing this from a distance. As my assumption is that Morthwyl, for example, went on the other side of the wall so he could move in and check the door and the window. So if you imagine this area out here, like that area that I just pinged, that all is wall, basically. That, roughly speaking, goes around the house, again, to greater or lesser degrees. But you're able to see stuff like this through many crumbled breaks in the wall. And in Morthwyl's case, he did go on the other side of the wall and walk up to it with no problem. Nothing attacked him this time. And was able to tell you what he told you.
Okay. And we think this is kind of the back of the house, just from how
Well,
far
one side of it. I mean, this part over here is another part of the wall of the house that is going up again to the north. So there may be another back to it. In other words, this is the back of one portion of it. But the house is basically built kind of like a T, a reverse T. So you're at the bottom of the T, and the kind of the stalk of the T, right, is extending outwards away from you. So it does look like the wall continues to go up in this direction. And so there may be another back on the other side of the stalk of the T, if you follow what I'm saying.
Could we spend some time to go all the way around the wall? Does
Yeah,
the
if you
wall
wish.
go all the way around the house so we
If
could
you
get
wish.
a good, just basically wander all the way around the wall, and then we can see the outline of the house, see where any other back doors are?
Sure, you could absolutely do that if you want. Do you want to
Everybody?
do that?
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Sound good?
All right.
Cool.
Aye.
And I'm going to reveal more of the area for all of you as you make your way around. So eventually, this part does indeed bend over again, bend to the east, and extends in this direction. So as you move around, you can see that there are two windows here, and this does look like as far back as the house actually goes. It's also the farthest away from the cliff face. And then when you get to the other side of this and it goes down, then we get here and you can see, oops, sorry. Why are you doing that? Oh, because that's why. That's why. Okay. Then we do this. Yep. And now you're able to see down this way. Now, a couple points that need to be made about this. Here, on this side, is this well. And if you want to actually stop to look at it, I'm going to talk a little bit about the well. Otherwise, you can continue to make your circuit around the house if you want. But as this part of the T bends back to the south again towards the rest of the house, that's where this well actually is. And again, that's its own thing that we'll talk about if you want to go look it over.
I'll go and have a look at the well.
Okay. Waves is looking like at the ground near the house itself, because the kind of back door she expects is more like a cellar door or something like that than a partial door.
Right. So, and you do see, speaking of that, Waves, you do see this door here, which does look like a door, but it looks like a normal door. You have not yet seen a cellar door of the kind that you're describing.
Okay, but I will look at that door then.
Okay. Yeah, so this definitely looks like another door that can be opened. Again, it is sort of damaged from the damp, and this is on the side, again, that's getting closer, heading back towards the cliff again, so there is some water and wave and spray that kind of hits into it, so it seems to have soaked the wood. But it does look like you can open it. It doesn't appear to be locked. And so that does look like another door, if not the back, definitely to the side, I guess, of the house.
Does it look like a door that I expect a drunkard could still open?
Possible. Any of these doors probably could have been opened by someone like Canis, because they weren't locked, and this wasn't like, again, it might have been a little bit. You'd have to like tug on it a bit, but nothing major. Void Dragon.
Just, okay. I look around and see Brine standing next to the well, and I point at the door and say,
One way in.
Well, this and the other door we just passed.
Make a perception check for me, Brine, by the way, since you're heading towards the well.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at the well at the moment. Yes, I will make a perception check.
I'm standing near Waves, by the way.
I am wholly unperceptive. I'm tripping over the fact that there's a well there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, you're like, hey, everybody, I think this is a well. Like, I mean, it definitely feel like, you've seen wells. And as you're looking over it, Morthwyl, I'd like you to make a perception check for me also.
I've just wandered over to have a look at the stonework, but okay.
I saw a well in a book once. It looked a little bit like this. But there was a bucket, and this doesn't have a bucket. So is this a well?
That is a well, not a well.
You can confirm, Morthwyl, that it is indeed a well. Also, you notice that there is a cluster of what look like sort of stacked around the well. You can see there's some, not stacked, I shouldn't say, it makes it sound too, but like, rolled around the side of the well. You see little rocks and sticks, things like that, which you might expect. But you also see what look like small bits of fur and bone and stuff like that. It almost seems like small mammal or animal remains around this well. And
are there any weasel tracks nearby?
No, but Brine, you hear this. And suddenly, slithering out of the well, you see the following exciting things.
Oh no, it's a hissing man-eating well.
No, it's not a hissing man-eating well, but it is most definitely two large, in fact, giant green snakes slither out of the well, Brine, and they slither right towards you. You all know this drill. It is time for Initiative.
Initiative.
The House of Weasels and Snakes.
God.
Alchemist's house. I warned you, but did you listen? Oh no!
Thank you for the follow, Thunder God.
Initiative.
Let's fire up some music here.
Snake combat.
Now it's giant
And-
tadpoles. Yeah, exactly.
And still, also this fight, Waves takes a moment to just look at the situation and shake her head.
I just turned to Waves. I'm just like, hey, this one wasn't me. Like, I had nothing to do with this. I
Okay.
kind of feel I'm in the right position right now, away from that.
I am amused narratively that in each of these cases, when the perception check is done, the dice have been like, "Nope, you don't see a damn thing." Like, you see nothing at all. Let's see.
Snakes and weasels, fun for all the family.
Exactly. At least they do not
I
get a
haven't got in
surprise.
the house yet.
They might have been able to surprise you were it not for the fact that Morthwyl saw the mammal remains. Otherwise, this would have been a surprise round of you talking about. But it did not happen. So, all right. Let's see. Let me just get my. Hold on a moment. I'm just
I
going to
agree.
pull out
Why
my
do-
statistics for my giant snakes.
Giant poison what?
Nothing.
Giant poison weasels.
This is
Giant
probably a
poison
good time
weasel.
to mention I have advantage to poison saves and resistance to poison.
Well,
Is this a good time to point out that I have distance between myself and whatever has poison?
Yeah, but you thought you were fine last time and then suddenly weasel to the
I
arm.
didn't. I had a weasel on my arm.
Yeah, but you thought you were fine up
I'm
until
sorry.
then.
I had a weasel as a pauldron, like wearing one as a backpack.
okay. So we've got that. All right. Let's go back to here. So let's see. We have got Brine with a 19. We have Silvo with a 15. We have got Morthwyl with a 13. And we have a very, very disappointed in all of you. Who is just very.
disappointed me. I was stood with you.
No, in all of you. Just in general. The situation. Okay. Right. Okay. First up is going to be Brine, which seems appropriate, Brine. These things are coming right at you. Oh, I'm sorry. Just before you do that, you have a dex of 20. You said, right? Is that yes?
Yes, that is right.
Just want to confirm. Okay. Cool. All right, Brine, you were up. So you see these things slithering out.
Okay, I dual wield scimitars. So that I'm going to go like melee style. I'm assuming that they're going to be close enough
Oh yeah.
to attack melee style.
Yes, they certainly are. And you can
Okay.
see them. No grass problem this way. They're right in front of you.
First off, I'm going to look in the vague direction of and Silvo, who are directly in front of me, and I'm going to say, I've not seen many wells. Is this normal? I thought water was in wells. Is there no water in wells? And then I'm going to attack the snake with my scimitar.
Okay.
I've got one scimitar macroed. I'm assuming because I dual wield, I can just like click the same one.
Yes, I would say.
Okay.
All right,
10.
there's one scimitar.
22.
That second one will hit. Second one absolutely hits. Go ahead and roll. First one will miss. Roll your damage, please, on that second one.
Okay. Because this was already pre-filled from when I did my character sheet, it's like damage type. It just says 3. I'm assuming that's not including my proficiency bonus.
Right. Well, there would be a roll for it if it's a scimitar.
I mean, it's just that doing that is just going to make me roll another scimitar.
Yeah. No,
Right.
no, don't do that. No need to do that. I will look it up quickly. Scimitar
Does it
is
do anything if you
probably
actually click on the word
1d6
scimitar?
plus strength, I'm guessing.
Oh no, it really doesn't.
What was that, Mike? What?
I asked if it did anything when you clicked on the word scimitar, so I clicked on the word scimitar and I got an error message on roll 20.
It was just like, no, don't ever do
Whoops.
anything. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, so for a scimitar, it is 1d6 slashing. Now this is finesse, so this is something you'd be using actually your dex bonus for. So it would be 1d6 plus dex bonus is your damage on this.
Plus dex plus proficiency.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, not for, well,
Proficiency does not go on damage.
yeah, not for damage.
No, of
It
course
would
it
just
doesn't.
be on the hit.
Sorry.
So it's
So
just
it's
1d6
plus plus dex.
That's right.
Oh,
3.
Oh, 3. Okay. All right,
Damage
you
is damage.
slash it in the side. Hisses at you, apparently not pleased. Okay, now it is right next to you. You could disengage 5 feet from it if you want to avoid an attack of opportunity, or just stay, engaged in the combat with it if you wish. Up to you, bud.
Roughly how big is this big snake?
It's big. It's like medium-sized, which makes it, probably the size of a little bit smaller than a pony. It's a big snake.
A bit smaller than a pony.
Yeah. Big snake. Small pony,
I was going to say. I mean, how big a
Size of a
pony?
Great Dane,
Okay,
There's
I'm going to
a lot of
disengage.
things are a bit smaller.
Size
than
of
a
an English sheepdog.
yeah.
I'm going to disengage.
Okay. I like that question was asked first. Okay, now that I know that, I'm going to step back from it.
Yeah.
Okay.
you swipe at it and you're just like, oh, there's a lot more of
So
you
she's
in
like,
that
that's
well.
a big snake. Yeah, because its bottom is just pulling
Yeah.
out of the well, right? Okay, that's going to lead us next to Silvo. Silvo, you can see not one but 2 of these big snakes. Giant snakes, in fact.
So are they both out of the well, or is only the one that
This
Brine is attacking?
This
is
one
out of the well?
here is out of the well. This one is half out, but you can see both of them, really.
Okay, cool. I'm going to drop to one knee and aim my crossbow at the one that Brine has just attacked, and I'm going to attack that one.
Okay.
Because that's how I would like to normally aim my crossbow, and not wildly firing at something that's trying to drag me away to eat me for
Exactly.
dinner.
Exactly. The snakes just want to cuddle. I'm sure they do, Void.
11.
11 is not going to do it. That is a miss.
Okay.
It actually bounces off the side of the well, sadly.
Okay.
Are you
How
moving up or back?
Yeah, so how far away am I from the snake at the moment?
Probably about 30, 35 feet or so.
Okay, I'm going to move 10 feet back.
Okay. All right, sounds good. That's going to lead us next to Morthwyl.
Okay. I'm not currently engaged, am I?
Correct. They're pretty close. You could get up to them very quickly.
No. A complete opposite of what I have in mind.
I leap off the cliff. And
I'm going to head 25 feet over this direction.
okay.
Put some distance between me. And this was the one that's being attacked, right?
Yes,
The one that's
that's right.
damaged. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I am once again going to cast a firebolt at it.
Okay.
24.
Absolutely a hit.
And 3 damage.
3. All right. So again, it hits into it, and you can smell roasting something or other, and it hisses at you. This is just for Tim Coolish. There you go. And it hisses at you, but that is all. And that's going to lead us to, because 20 dex means you break a tie on a dex roll, on an initiative roll with these creatures. And not easy. They're pretty good. They're pretty dexterous too, but not as dexterous as super Bruce Lee dexterous over there. So, okay, Waves, you're up, and you see these 2 snakes hissing and slithering and attacking.
As I couldn't find a really nice clean file of that famous Indiana Jones quote, I'll just silently fire with my crossbow at the snake that is already hurt.
Okay, feel free to do that.
14?
And 14 will hit. Bear with me 1 second. Go ahead and roll your damage.
Okay. 8.
Okay, after that,
Very nice.
that long extra delay for extra thing. So 8 points of damage. Actually, it hisses at you, and the bolt hits it through the throat, and with a air sticking out of a balloon, the snake slithers to the ground and expires. All right, good shot, Waves. Now, are you staying where you are?
I'm also 30 feet away, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I will stay where I am because I think if I've got only a small crossbow, if I go over 30 feet, I'll get something bad.
Gotcha.
So I'll stay where I am.
All right, this other one then, it is finally the snake's turn, the remaining snake, and the remaining snake is going to slither out and attack Brine, which is closest. Yeah, he was so young. Okay, let's see. So that is going to be it is a 19 to hit you, Brine.
It does, yes.
Okay, and that is going to be. All right, it is going to do, first of all... all right, it's going to do 7 points of damage on its bite. 7 points of piercing damage. That's the better news. The worst news is I need you to make here a Constitution saving throw as you feel something coming from the fangs of this thing as it bites into you. A 10.
Is it poison?
It might be. Yeah, a 10 is not going to do it. So, you are also going to take another 8 points of poison damage as this poison courses through your veins. I believe that puts you at -2. So this thing just bites into you, and you all see sort of retching Brine sink to her knees and then fall over unconscious. She is down and is dying. And is poisoned. Other than that, everything's great. Okay. So, let's see. It's thoughts and players or prayers right there. Okay. So that happened, and that brings us up to the top where, conveniently, Brine is available to do a death saving throw. So again, for death saving throws here, Inanda, you're just going to roll a d20, and you are looking to get a 10 or above. 10 or above, you have a save. 9 or below, you have a death failure. A critical failure means you get 2 death failures. If you get a 20, you come back, like you are restored, and you are restored to a single hit point. If you get 3 failures, you are dead. If you get 3 successes, then you are stabilized without intervention from your companions. So we'll start with the death saving throw.
9.
That is 1 failure. Yeah, exactly. Then does the Michael Jackson moonwalk. Okay. Now, I also need you to make a Constitution saving throw, believe it or not, because the poison is still pulsing through your body. So, need you to make a con saving throw.
12.
The 12 is actually enough. So the poison, well, you don't feel this because you're unconscious, but the poison actually diminishes and dissipates. So you are no longer poisoned. You are, however, still dying, but you are no longer poisoned.
Okay.
Okay, and that's going to, I'm not going to ask you what else you're going to do. You're just going to be there unconscious. So that's going to lead us to Silvo with Morthwyl on deck. Silvo, you have just seen Brine slip to the ground after taking this terrible bite.
So let's make sure I'm not on mute. There we go. So there's a moment where Silvo sees this dread pirate just fall to the snake, and there is sheer panic in his eyes. If to jump out of character for a moment, if anybody's ever played Darkest Dungeon, if one of your players gets like broken or pushed to the point of insanity, and they kind of, you see their normal avatar just sort of like, there's that moment. And with that, I'd really like it if the snake could make me a wisdom saving throw, DC 13.
Here we go. The wisdom of the snake.
If you roll high on this, I'm going to be real disappointed.
No, I didn't. I definitely did not make the wisdom saving throw.
Cool. So, for the benefit of the audience, I am casting Dissonant Whispers. You whisper a dissonant, discordant melody that only one creature of your choice within range can hear, racking it with terrible pain. On a failed save, it takes 3d6 damage. So I'm just going to roll that damage. There is another element of that as well, but we'll get to that in a second. 3d6. So that would be 9 points of damage.
Okay. So it takes this down. You see this thing writhing like almost jerking around in some kind of pain. And then the next part of it is...
it must immediately use its reaction, if available, to move as far away as its speed allows from me.
And guess where it goes? right
In the
back
well?
into the freaking well. It literally just slithers down immediately into the well and disappears from sight. Now, I'm not going to take us out of initiative yet, A, because it's not dead, and B, because Brine is still dying. But, yeah, it definitely is not good stuff.
Yep. And with that, Silvo sinks to his knees, visibly sweating.
All right. That was impressive from Silvo. That leads us to Morthwyl. Morthwyl, you were closest to Brine, and you can see her on the ground. You also see the snake has vanished into the well. But for how long? So it is your turn. What do you want to do?
Morthwyl's going to go over to Brine, reaching into his tool pack as he's going. As he gets there, he pulls out just a little device, just basically almost looks like a needle with a crystal on top of it, and he jabs it into Brine and casts Cure Wounds.
Oh, it's like the Pulp Fiction moment. All right. I love it. So you do that. Okay, Cure Wounds. Let's see how much you cure.
So that's 1d8
This will start, remember,
plus
for those in chat,
5.
this starts at 0. So even though Brine's at -2, with a heal, you start from 0 and go up. So
Excellent.
Yeah. So I get 1d8 plus 3.
I did wonder about that, because I've never really played a character that's dropped to negative hit points, other than every session I played with my barbarian.
I was going to say, well, and TikTok
10.
at the end.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
Okay, 10. So yes. All right. So first of all, the poison was already out of your body. You're not back up. You are prone, Brine, but your eyes flick open like, and you find yourself lying near the well with some vague pain in your leg. Also, you don't entirely know what that is, and then you see that there's some crystal that appears to be embedded in it, and you see Morthwyl looking over you. I'm going to pull us out of initiative for now because the snake has disappeared. I reserve the right, by which I mean the snake reserves the right to make a further appearance, but at the moment, that is what you see.
As soon as I go, I think there was a snake in that well. Why is there something sharp poking out of me, Morthwyl?
Oh, I'll be needing that back. And I just pull it out of my leg and stow it back in my bag.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then I kind of like try and get my surroundings, and they wonder why there's a dead snake left next to me, and yeah, everything's a little confusing at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. Things happened a bit fast to shout a warning.
No, I appreciate it.
Probably
Waves-
some alchemist pet.
You hear from the bottom of the well a faint hissing, not coming up towards you, but you hear it.
Let's move away from the man-eating well, shall we?
That sounds like
That's not a normal well. Yeah, I kind of dust myself off. Can I'm prone at the moment. Can I get up?
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent.
Waves look at Morthwyl, points at Brine's legs, and says,
Impressive.
Thank you. A little trick the alchemists back home use. You'll be surprised how often people need a bit of pep.
Is that what I've heard someone talk about? Is it called acupuncture? Is that what that is?
I just call it bloody useful myself, to be honest.
Well, I am grateful.
I can't do that too often, though. This thing only works a couple of times a day. It needs to recharge.
Well, I appreciate it, and I will try to avoid well snakes in the future. Maybe we should walk away from the well.
Waves points at the door again.
Morthwyl's going to go over and try the door handle.
The door, with a little bit of pushing, it doesn't take too much, opens, and it reveals a hallway. Now that you have a chance to actually look inside this, you can confirm some of what I've described before. Morthwyl, just looking inside, the inside of the house looks very dilapidated and damp. Lots of black patches of what is clearly mold growing in different places. The woodwork looks generally rotten. There's a lot of cobwebs that you see as well, thick layer of dust too, and again, rubbish sort of everywhere. There's plaster, actually, you can see that's strewn along the floor, and the whole thing looks like basically a mess. But the hallway here extends into the house about 15 feet and then turns to the south, and there's a door that you can see up here to the north.
Are there any footprints in the dust or anything?
Make me an investigation check for me, please, which is intelligence-based.
Okay. I can't even see in front
It's
of my
the snakes,
hand.
right? You keep hearing like, you know, like
Yeah,
over there.
it's like, can anyone hear that? I can just see its eyes. I can just see its eyes.
Yeah, you don't see any tracks in the dust, at least from what you can tell.
Waze looks around nervously and then looks at Silvo because he was not looking well a moment ago.
Yes. So
And
Silvo
she
at
says,
this point. Sorry, go on.
and she looks at him and says,
No worries.
I'm still on my knees at this point, and I kind of look up at Waves, and I just kind of, there's this half smile as he sort of stands up, a bit shaky, and he kind of just takes a step back and Waves for a second. You think you can hear Silvo kind of whisper to himself, "Oh, get it together, man. Just get it together. You can do this." As he kind of takes a bit of rag out of his coat and just wipes like all the sweat off his face, and makes himself a bit more presentable.
Waves tries to be like really reassuring and pats Silvo like on the shoulder and says,
One must try.
Weasel shoulder. I appreciate that, but weasel shoulder.
does Silvo look a little bit better now?
Well, he looks a little bit better because he's gotten up and he's wiped all the sweat off his face, but he does smile at you. There's a second where he kind of leans in and sort of says to you, "What? Let's just maybe leave that between us, eh? Let's not worry anybody else with me not feeling very well, all right?"
She looks slightly confused, like she doesn't really understand what the matter is.
Cool. I tap you on the shoulder. I'm just like, that's it. That's what I'm going for. And I walk past into the house.
Okay.
Yeah, of course I will.
All right. So if you're all going in the house, so as I said, these are 5-foot squares. So technically, although you can pass through each other's squares, it would be pretty tight if you were going next to each other. So I would be interested to see who's in front and who's behind and all that kind of stuff, assuming everyone is entering the house.
Yeah, how lit is it inside there? How bright?
It's not particularly bright. The light that's coming in is coming in basically, there's no torches or lanterns or anything. The light that's coming in is coming from the outside. So it is daytime, and so there is, the overcast light, gray light is kind of filtering in, but it is not particularly bright in here.
Okay.
Presumably more lit in the areas with windows.
After her experience so far, Waze will try to get to the head of the column.
Okay, so in front?
If they let her through, she's not gonna like push people aside. She's like a thin bird after all. But she will try to like slither to the front of the column. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Morthwyl will take up place behind Waves. He does have dark vision, which is probably good to keep at the head of the movement order or close to it.
Okay. Can do that.
Brine is she's starting to pull herself together. She's got a reputation to uphold. She's given herself a stern talking to. She's moving her scimitars together with the sparks, much to Morthwyl's look of disgust, because I know how he feels about blunting my swords. But he's seen that every night I'm using a whetstone on them, so they're still pretty sharp. But I say, okay, I'm okay now. I'll bring up the rear, make sure we're not followed.
Okay.
I will go between Morthwyl and Brine.
All right, so let me have everyone, if I understand this correctly, let me put the order. So it'll be here. It would be Morthwyl second, then Silvo, and then Brine. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And of course, sizing is not quite right. Let me
Well, it's probably right enough.
Let me drop that down a little bit.
I'm sorry, I'm just now imagining a teeny tiny kenku, and that's really adorable.
It's like a canary that can say all the words.
Canary too.
Oh, and I'm imagining like all your range of voices will pitch shifted up accordingly as well. So you're all squeaky.
I still cannot get.
Size rapier.
I still cannot leave the thought of a penguin kenku behind.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this is what you see below you. So you've got a door to your north, Morthwyl, that you can see right there. And then you've got to the south, can see we've got a door over here to the west and a door over here to the east. And this hallway seems to open up into a room, a rather large room down here.
I want to listen. Because the snakes did like shh and stuff like that. So I really want to use all my senses to maybe get a sense of somebody moving somewhere or something.
So a gentle, yes, a gentle, certainly. A general listening, you mean, right? So just listening where you are for any kind of sounds?
Yeah, it could be sounds could be behind me, in front of me, so I don't really know where to listen now. So right now it's a general listen.
Okay.
Unless you say like something is like moving in front of me and shouting, then I'm gonna listen for that.
Okay, make a perception check for me, please.
21.
Okay. So you hear, besides the sound of the water kind of on the outside, you don't really hear anything in particular. There is what seems like, occasionally you hear what sounds like something almost occasionally sounds like it might be scratching, but again, it's non-specific. It's not like anywhere in particular that you can hear it, and it may also just be your nerves and the combination of that plus the sound of the wind outside on the house. But occasionally it sounds like there's some kind of scratching / slithering noise coming from somewhere within the house, but impossible to specify where.
Okay, I make like a movement, like a circle, like surrounding, and say, in the hope that Morthwyl understands me.
Did you play the sound again? Because I'm not sure it played properly.
Oh, wait, did I use the wrong...
Oh, okay. No, that's what I heard. It just sounded like a mic catch. Okay. You hear something? Does it sound like a big thing? Small thing?
Yeah.
Small or far away? Mm-hmm. Do you know roughly where it's coming from? Right. Okay. Morthwyl's going to listen at the door that he's right by.
Okay, make a perception check for me, please.
19.
Yeah, you also at this door hear now, Morthwyl, like a scratching, slithering sound.
Scratchy, slithering sound. I turn over. Brine, you mind shutting that door over there?
I like shut the door behind us and kind of. Is there something we can barricade with it so nothing can push it open?
Not nearby here. There is a bunch of like plaster and stuff, but not strong enough to do that. You could get something from another room that you walk into, and you get the impression, like from where Waves is, there definitely looks like the room down here may have some furniture, like broken, wood furniture and stuff you could maybe use, but not immediately where you are, Brian.
Does
All
the
right,
door
for
have a
now,
lock?
I just close the door.
Okay. Sounds good. I can't say it's a weasel riding a snake, Void Dragon. It is very tempting to make this the sinister secret of Saltmarsh is that weasels ride snakes. That's the secret.
Absolutely.
Alchemists.
Alchemists.
So so you can do that, Brian, and otherwise, Morthwyl, that's what you heard.
Okay.
There's a quick glance at the back door. Does it have a lock on it, or is it just a normal wooden door with no lock?
Looks like a wooden door. There may have at some point. You kind of see some marks around the handle, which suggests that maybe at one point it could have been like padlocked or something, Silvo, but
Right,
a
but no
long
like
time
key,
ago. No.
that sort of thing, no keyhole or anything like that. Okay.
No.
Okay, cool.
I think we should try this door right by here.
What you mean the door where you can hear the scratchy slithery noise?
Well, we don't know it's coming from there. I mean, could hear it down there as well, so it might be down there and traveling up here, and that's what I'm hearing.
Okay.
But we need to be moving forward, because standing here ain't gonna get anything done. With all the noise we've made, they may be preparing your welcome.
I'm just like
Wait.
the only thing we're gonna get here is covered in mud dust.
I try the door
Wait.
handle next to me.
Okay. Waves is like, do you have something for Morthwyl? Morthwyl, like something like that. Okay.
I
so-
do, but she's not gonna shout it.
Okay. When you open this door, you find yourself looking at what must have at some point been a kitchen. It is lit by the window that you can see, which is mostly broken. But there's a window that you can see up in the top northwestern corner over here of the room. So you can see the inside of this place. It's dirty and damp, and there are patches of, again, this gray-black mold and cobwebs on the floor and walls and ceiling. And in the southwestern corner, right over here, you can see what looks like some iron cooking equipment, possibly, with a chimney above it. And next to it, under the window here, is a cracked and discolored stone sink. To the right of the sink, there is a small, closed wooden cupboard, which is fixed to the ground about 5 feet above floor level. And against the far wall over here, a flight of wooden stairs leads upward from west, on this side, to east. The woodwork of the staircase is decayed, and a few of the treads are missing, but the staircase otherwise seems reasonably intact.
Found us a moldy kitchen.
I'm assuming from my vantage point, I can't see inside the kitchen as yet.
That is correct. That's correct. Also, Morthwyl, I'd like you to make, please, and I'll take either investigation or survival for this.
Definitely investigation. Food is prepared here.
No, you actually see something a little more than that. As you sort of look down at this, you can see what looks like a set of humanoid tracks. And the tracks are leading from clearly the south as you kind of look down. From down here, they extend up into this room, and then they go all the way over to the stairs. And then you lose sight of them from there. So, I mean, because there's just not enough dust or whatever on the stairs. But something clearly came from the hallway up into this room and climbed the stairs, and it looks pretty recent.
Well, would you look at that? And I point at the footprints.
I will look
lean
at
in.
that.
Yeah. So
It's been this way.
I don't know many ghosts, but I don't think a lot of them wear size 6 shoes.
Certainly don't look like no vampire rats.
Well, we were told that there was the potential of running into some slavers up here, which is one of the
Aye.
reasons we came.
So I
Does
think
it
we've
look like
definitely
only
found-
like one track of footsteps
Yes,
in the
it
dust?
looks like just one set. That's right.
I point at the footsteps and lift one finger.
And they were definitely walking in that direction. I mean, obviously we can tell by where the toes are or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. That's right. One set of tracks that seem to be walking towards the stairs, from what you can tell. Yes.
And now in the hallway, now that we can see the one set of tracks in the room, can we track them back to the hallway?
Sure.
Is there only one set of tracks in the hallway?
There is one set and you could track that set back into the room that it came from if you wish. Yes.
Yeah, but there's not like tracks going from like. There's not loads of tracks in the hallway and then just one set.
Not that you see. No, there's one set of tracks going from the hallway up into this room.
Okay.
And also, I should mention, by the way, one last quick note is that there is, you can see there's a little bit of a door. Not a little bit, but there is a door visible over there as well on the eastern side of this
It's
room.
a handle.
It's a handle, yeah.
Okay. Maybe we should check down here. This is like a stage whisper that is like trying to be as quiet as possible. Maybe we should check down here before we look upstairs, so we don't get flanked.
Yep. Also, I realized I made a slight error in this. It goes not to those stairs. It goes to this door. My apologies. It goes here. Sorry. And the door is closed, so it goes that way. My fault.
But again, one set of tracks
yep,
just
one
going
set.
to that door and just disappearing into that door.
That's right.
Possibly whatever's in there is whoever is in there is still in there.
I make a throat cut movement.
I just slowly turn to Waves. I'm like, that's dark. I like it.
Okay, I point towards the handle of the door in the kitchen where the footsteps disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Morthwyl's moving up to the door then.
Okay.
I stay behind him with my crossbow cocked.
I'm listening at the door.
Okay. Go ahead and make a perception check for me, please.
This door sounds like wood.
Yeah. you hear it sounds
I hear the ocean.
quiet. Also, you hear the slithering sound, but not from here.
Okay.
So I'm going to move into the doorway of this room.
Okay.
Brine shudders at the Morthwyl's depiction of the hissing sound.
Yep.
Don't worry. I mean, we've got plenty of people between us and whatever is making that hissing sound. And then Silvo just looks behind him. He's like, well, unless they come from there. And then looks behind you, Brian, like, unless they come from there. I'm not helping, am I?
Not really.
Okay. I'm going to shut up.
Maybe next time we'll go and find a boat. I'm happy on boats. I like boats. Boats are fun.
Oh, it's all fun and games until a hole gets in the hole, though. Okay, well, Morthwyl's gonna try the handle.
The door is unlocked, and when you open it, you see this. This room seems to have displayed the effects of damp and decay more than most. There is much more mold here, growing in patches on the floor, walls, and ceiling. There's a large copper cask, which is split, discolored, and empty. You can see over here underneath the window in the north, and a small heap of crockery shards on the floor beside it. And there are stairs leading down here into what is presumably a cellar. Also, the tracks that I mentioned, this time they do really go to the stairs and down.
Did the hissing noise get any louder once we opened the door?
No.
Okay.
And it really was more like a slithering more than a hissing, but no. In fact, if anything, it quieted down.
Okay, so we got further away from it, possibly.
Or it hurt us.
All that. Well, I didn't throw the door open and
That's
go,
true.
"Gah!"
That's very true. Right.
Oh, there's another room in here and some stairs down. Then a poor copper still. More cheap merchandise, no doubt.
I point down.
The
I
stairs
make
in
like
here.
I make like a waving motion to Morthwyl and waves, and I make like a spinning motion like.
Morthwyl looks behind him.
Should we search? Over here.
I'm not in line of sight, so all I can see is Silvo doing this, and I'm like, okay.
Okay. So
Waves
Morthwyl,
shakes her head
Oh,
and
yeah.
points down again.
Wave just wants straight into it.
She is a bit impatient, I've mentioned that.
Morthwyl's slightly confused how he's at the front of the party all of a sudden.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've stayed firmly behind.
And he's going to look down. He's not going down, he's just going to go to the top and look down.
When you get to the top step, just looking down, as you step right before that top step, you suddenly hear, rising from the cellar below, it is the wailing of a soul in torment. I need all of you to make a wisdom saving throw, please.
God.
18.
Okay. That so fits narratively. Okay, I'll get back to what that means in a second.
Is
Silvo?
this charm or sleep?
No.
Cool.
Neither.
I get advantage on those. So
Indie games. I'm out.
Where am I?
I mean, regardless of the save, like, I think Morthwyl's like, I'm out.
Okay, Silvo, logical, and Morthwyl.
I got 18.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yes. And Morthwyl sort of shake off these effects. But Brine and Silvo, as you hear the sound of these screams, which I'm not going to keep doing it, but they are continuing, wailing from below you in the cellar, you are at the moment frightened. And the effect that have is that both of you will have disadvantage on all ability checks for an hour. You can repeat the saving throw every 15 minutes, but right now you are terrified. And as these screams echo through the house, we are going to bring our session to a close. I'm so happy you went over the top step so I could finish with that image of that stuff that happened. Good stuff, everyone. Listen, it's not a haunted house. There's just weasels and snakes and screaming.
And everything wants to kill us and scream at us.
It's the Spencer Mansion from Resident Evil.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. I just want to say,
Wait till the hunters show up.
The tyrant in the basement. The second that scream happened, thematically correct. I was actually on mute when that happened, but Silvo jumps into Brian's arms.
Who also is probably just as scared. I love the fact that Brian missed it because, like,
yeah, there's a
We do the
Scooby-Doo
whole
esque
like
moment.
proper Scooby-Doo things where we hug each other like Shaggy and Scooby.
Yeah, pretty much.
oh man, this was good stuff. I wish it could go on forever.
For Waves maybe not being so impressed by the howling is that Waves knows about making sounds to shock people or to make people fear. So maybe she's just not 100% sure that this is a real sound, because this is something she would do. Because this is something she would do if she was supposed to have a haunted house. So, because she can do these
You know what,
things.
Piran? I know we have to go for Dan Van Dam. Make me an insight check quickly, because you said that. Otherwise, I'll forget.
I closed my way. I will quick.
Just make like a quick. And I apologize, Dan Van Dam, but I'm doing this for a reason. Literally because of the analysis you just gave, and I don't think there's no one else who's a kenku, right? Yeah.
18.
Almost certainly, Waves. There is something off about that screaming because it almost feels as if it's repeating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was a certain dwarf who showed me a little contraption that could play sounds.
Yep. Anyway, just something to think about. On you go. Sorry,
yeah.
but that was
Yeah.
very smart. Very smart.